Now that he is going to plead guilty, re-entering society is forever foreclosed.
Tonight, major development in the Moscow murders case. Brian Kohberger reportedly planning to take a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. What we have learned.
We still are in shock and are struggling to understand why someone would target unarmed, selfless public servants.
A day after 2 firefighters were killed and another gravely hurt in an ambush shooting near Coeur d'Alene, we are learning more about the victims and the gunman who investigators say lured them to the scene by starting a fire.
Heat advisories in place before increased fire danger hits on Wednesday.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 Night Report. I'm Mark Hanrahan. We start tonight with major developments in the Moscow murders case. We have learned from several sources, including family members, that Brian Kohberger plans to take a plea deal. That deal reportedly includes Kohberger pleading guilty to the 4 murder charges against him for 4 consecutive life sentences. In exchange, prosecutors would take the death penalty off the table. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy spoke with a former judge and state attorney general for some analysis on these developments. Connor?
Well, we've confirmed a letter was sent to the murder victim's family members saying he's agreed to plead guilty on all 4 counts of first-degree murder charges. This comes just 2 months before the trial was originally scheduled to start. The news broke late this afternoon. Brian Kohberger, the man accused of murdering Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, and Madison Mogan in their off-campus home 2.5 years ago, plans to change his plea in a deal with prosecutors to avoid the death penalty. This plea deal also has Kohberger waiving the right to appeal. The prosecution's been seeking the death penalty since 2023. Tonight, we spoke with former Idaho Attorney General David Leroy for analysis on the reported deal.
Now that he is going to plead guilty, re-entering society is forever foreclosed, given the dreadful nature of these murders and the risk that he would propose to society were he to re-enter. This is a good result in a hard case, and the only possible outcome other than proceeding forward on a death penalty matter.
While Leroy says it's likely a judge will sign off on the deal, former King County Superior Court Judge Timothy Bradshaw says this judge can deny it.
If the judge does not conclude those things, that it is not voluntary, that it's a product of some sort of coercion, then yeah, the judge can reject it. The judge has an affirmative duty to make that determination.
The family of one of the 4 victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, released a strong statement on this update, clearly unhappy with how the case has been handled. It reads in part, quote, "After more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea's details. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward." Now, to read the full statement from the Gonzalez family, you can do so on our website. Kohberger's next hearing is expected on Wednesday, July 2nd. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Connor, thank you very much. And our Amanda Rowley will be in Boise tomorrow to report on the Kohberger plea hearing, which again is scheduled for Wednesday. We will also keep you up to date with any new developments that emerge before that. We are also tracking major developments in yesterday's deadly attack on firefighters on Canfield Mountain outside of Coeur d'Alene. Today, investigators identified the gunman, the weapon he used, as well as new details about what unfolded. KREM 2's Cody Proctor is live in Coeur d'Alene tonight with a recap of everything we learned today. Cody?
Well, Mark, we learned a lot today, including the identity of the gunman as well as the identity of the firefighters killed yesterday. Now, right behind me is English Funeral Chapel here in Coeur d'Alene. This is the spot where another procession that's supposed to take place tomorrow will end to bring the victims home. Their names are Frank Harwood and John Morrison. Both were battalion chiefs with decades of experience in North Idaho. Harwood with Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, and Morrison with Coeur d'Alene Fire. A targeted ambush on Canfield Mountain on Sunday cut their lives short.
Yesterday was one of the most absolute darkest days that either one of these organizations has ever faced.
A senseless act of violence as they try to protect their community.
Still are in shock and are struggling to understand why someone would target unarmed, selfless public servants.
Another firefighter, Coeur d'Alene Fire engineer David Tisdale, remains in critical condition at Kootenai Health. The man the Kootenai County Sheriff says targeted them has been identified as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. The sheriff says law enforcement had 5 interactions with him in the past, but nothing serious, mostly trespassing and welfare checks. However, Sheriff Bob Norris says it's not known if he had any interactions with firefighters. That all changed Sunday when Rowley reportedly spoke with firefighters as they arrived to fight the fire burning on Canfield Mountain.
It had something to do with his vehicle being parked where it was.
Shots were fired not long after. Hours later, Rowley was found dead with a shotgun nearby. The sheriff says it appears he may have shot himself. The still burning wildfire caused issues in the investigation.
They said that the fire approached within 50 feet, and at that time it was a determination was made that we should probably remove the body.
Rowley's motivation still unclear, but what is clear is the deep pain being felt across North Idaho. Now, tomorrow's procession starts at the Spokane Medical Examiner's office at 10 o'clock in the morning. That procession will continue east from Spokane towards Coeur d'Alene. It'll then make its way here to the English Funeral Chapel here in Coeur d'Alene for that final procession tomorrow. People that want to pay their respects along the route can do so. Just be sure to be safe while you are doing that. Reporting live in Coeur d'Alene, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
All right, Cody, thank you very much. And we will be covering the firefighter procession from Spokane to Coeur d'Alene tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. For live video, download and watch our KREM 2 Plus app on your TV. To support the fire departments and the fallen firefighters' families, they recommend donating online at redbluefoundation.org or donating in person at any local First Interstate Bank branch as far out as Spokane. Mention, they say, the Canfield incident when donating in person. Well, a Sandpoint man in disbelief tonight after learning the shooter was his former roommate. He says Wes Rowley lived with him for about 6 months until this past January. Jim Nelson with our Seattle sister station, talked with the ex-roommate this afternoon.
Smoke was still rising from Canfield Mountain in the morning, some 40 miles north. A family was waking up to the unthinkable.
I'm in a little bit of shock about the whole thing.
A shockwave hit Sandpoint early Monday.
I woke up to a phone call this morning from my brother, and he was like, dude, you're not gonna believe this. I said, what? And he said, your roommate's name was Wes Rowley, right? And I said, yeah. And he sent me the picture of him, and I read the news, and honestly, I was just freaking out really bad.
TJ Franks says he met Wes Rowley through the tree service industry. He tells me the 20-year-old was living out of his van when he moved into Frank's apartment.
My mom was freaking out. My whole family met him, and they've talked to him, and it's scary because I don't know, he could have flipped at any time.
Franks couldn't recall any conversations that may have hinted at a motive, which is still under investigation.
I mean, that is an absolutely disgusting thing to do. You know, my heart goes out to those firefighters' families because I respect law enforcement and firefighters especially. That it hurts my heart, but it also scares the crap out of me because he lived in my home under my roof.
And that's what he keeps going back to.
Never thought we would see something like this happen, especially with somebody that we know. It's really heartbreaking and scary.
Frank said that Rowley did not have any guns when he lived there, but he did say toward the end of that stay, he did notice a change in his demeanor. All right, let's take a quick break from the headline to talk weather. We are in the midst of a KREM 2 weather impact alert. Let's get right outside to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo at this hour. And Jeremy, we could see the hottest temperatures of the year so far tomorrow.
Mark, I think that's almost a guarantee for us to do so. Right now, wind is calm across much of the region, but check out the temps. We still sit at 80 degrees even this late at night. Next couple of days look every bit as warm, and for that reason, we're still under that KREM 2 weather impact alert. The National Weather Service has heat advisories in effect once again tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for temperatures all the way up to 104 degrees. It is going to be hot. That's just how this one works. But what we're also going to see is a little bit more wind on Wednesday. Fire weather watches remain in effect for the day for wind gusting at 25 to 40 miles per hour in addition to some of those warmer temperatures. Not only are we going to see wind, but we have the possibility of a couple isolated dry thunderstorms. That is going to drop our temperatures as we get into the second half of the week, but getting there is a little rough. 96 degrees tomorrow makes it the warmest day we've seen so far this year. 91 on Wednesday with those isolated thunderstorms and wind picking up in the afternoon. Mostly sunny and 84 on Thursday. And 4th of July on Friday looks very similar to Thursday. So really it's just the next couple of days that we have to get through with the heat and the elevated fire threat, and then we start calming down. Mark?
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show. When we come back tonight, Spokane City Council voted on an item tonight that could impact some of Spokane's most vulnerable communities. And a kind gesture from one North Idaho man brings a glimmer of humanity to a community suffering from tragedy.